Welcome to the regular meeting of the Pinehurst Village Council for November 18th of 2025. As we call this to order, we'll move right on to what is our traditional beginning. We'll have an invocation today from Jason Whitaker, member of the staff. Thank you, Jason.
Let us pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the village of Pinehurst, a great place to live and work and play and grow our families, Lord. We thank you for this council and all the time that they put into study and research to try to make the best decisions possible for this community. We know that's not easy. We know there's a lot that goes into it. And we thank you for their efforts. We pray that you bless them tonight as they work through all the issues and discussions, be with staff, and bless all the preparation going into the meeting, Father. We thank you for this time together. Pray that you'll bless this meeting. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All righty. We are going to, before we get to reports, we're going to begin with commendations. And what we have tonight is some commendations for the fire department staff of the village of Pinehurst. So I'm going to read what I have here, if that's okay with you, Chief. And on the 18th day of November, 2025, in recognition of the exceptional performance and professionalism during the recitation of a pulseless victim, your skill, composure, and commitment to excellence reflect great credit upon yourself and the Pinehurst Fire Department, resulting in the preservation of a human life. What we're discussing here is Captain Josh Anliker. So we're going to make this particular notice. The chief is here, Josh is here, and Chief, if you and Josh want to come forward and make a statement, please do. We very much appreciate it, and these life-saving situations don't occur on a daily basis, but when they do, it's good to know that you guys are there.
So thank you, Mayor, for that. And just on behalf of the fire department, I just want to recognize the hard work each and every day. Our firefighters are tirelessly training and preparing and responding each and every day to the community. And like the mayor said, to be able to go out there and actually witness a life save, to be a part of that is one of the greatest rewards of the job. And so on May the 4th, 2025, Battalion Chief Black, Captain Anliker, and Firefighter Chapman responded to a pulseless victim of cardiac arrest. Upon their arrival, they started immediate life-saving procedures, which included, of course, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And then along with our EMS partners, Moore County EMS, they arrived alongside and started advanced life support measures. And so as a result of their efforts, what we consider life save is when somebody actually has a pulse return and they walk out of the hospital. So this subject they responded to is one of those life saves. And so tonight we want to formally recognize and just say thank you for your hard work and your dedication. That's not something that just happens. These guys prepare for this each and every day. And the training, the systems checks, the inventories, all the things that build that muscle memory where they can respond and do so effectively is a testament to that result. So Captain Anliker, thank you so much for your service and everything you do and all your hard work. Firefighter Chapman, thank you so much. And that's what it's all about.
Hey, please join me in thanking these guys officially. Thank you.
We had several others tonight also, but due to some conflicts, they couldn't be here with work and family, some other conflicts that they had in classes and training. So, but thank y'all for coming, and we appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Thanks again, Chief. Well done.
Mr. Mayor, can I just share my thanks
Certainly.
to the fire department? This is a big deal, and it's one of the best parts of my job is being able to recommend and recognize people that have done a great job in the field. And this only happens when training and teamwork and execution all come together. And so I want to recognize the fire department for making that happen, and we're glad that we were able to save several people here in our village, and again, great job, thank you.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen. And now we'll move on to reports, and we'll begin, as usual, with the village manager. Doug?
Yeah, there were so many this week that I couldn't remember them all, so I had to put them in a PowerPoint. So our first is the turkey trot. So that's coming up this Saturday. It is not too late to sign up. If you would like to do that, you go on to setupevents.com and you can run. You don't even have to wear short shorts or a turkey outfit. We take anything in between. The next item is our Pinehurst Christmas decorating contest. So entries are due by November 26th at noon. Judging will take place on December 4th, and we will announce the winners at the Christmas Lighting Festival on December 5th. This will ensure that I do not win because I will not put up my Christmas lights until after December 5th, so any latecomers are going to be left out. And then for the week of Thanksgiving, it is our Shop Small this season. So the entire week of Thanksgiving, if you purchase items in the village, if you bring your receipts to the Welcome Center, you can be entered into a drawing. And we're grateful for all those that have donated items to put in the baskets that we will raffle off at the end. And then on the Saturday after Thanksgiving is our pop-up holiday market at the Fair Barn. Everyone's welcome to come and find some Christmas presents for their loved ones. And then again, our Christmas tree lighting will take place Friday, December 5th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. are the festivities, with the actual tree lighting about 6:15 that evening. And just a couple other things. So next week is Thanksgiving, so the village town hall offices will close at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and will be closed on Thursday and Friday. And then sadly, this is our last meeting with Jeff and Jack, so I just wanted to say thank you to you two. I really respect you, and I'm glad I've had the opportunity to work with you.
All right. Thank you. That did need a PowerPoint.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Let me go on to a few items myself. As we know, we have, in related to what Doug just said, we had some election results a couple weeks ago or so, and on December 9th, which will be our next council meeting, we'll have an official swearing in for the two new members, Kevin Fitzpatrick and Jeremy Hooper. That swearing in will take place here at 4 p.m., and it will be followed at 4:30 by our traditional council meeting. So all are welcome, and look forward to seeing some of you. In the past couple of weeks, I participated in the Southern Pines Veterans Day Parade, which is a big, well-attended, wonderful event with flyovers and all, and I walked in that with fellow mayors, Taylor Clement of Southern Pines, and Robbie Farrell of Aberdeen, and Pam Harris of Whispering Pines, and also State Senator McGinnis and Congressman Hudson were there. So it was a very good turnout. I went from an event like that to addressing the Cub Scouts. The local troop, our local group of Cub Scouts were holding their meeting on Sunday in the afternoon, and they held it in the Boy Scouts building on Community Road there. If you drive past there, you'll notice sometimes it's the Boy Scouts meeting. So I went in there, and we, gave a few remarks and then opened it up to questions. And I got a very interesting question from one young man who wanted to know if there were any unusual animals that we have here in the village of Pinehurst, if I had reports of them. And so I went right to my deer knowledge and experience, thinking that would impress them. And they said, no, unusual ones. So I said, like what? And the kid looked at me like Bigfoot. Have you seen Bigfoot in this town? I said, no, we haven't had any Bigfoot sightings. I wish you were there, Jack. You could have told me. Okay, West Pinehurst Park. All right. So, but anyway, and what they did mention to me that next year, in 2026, will be the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Boy Scout troop here in Pinehurst. I think it's going to be in February. So that may be something that we all might somehow find a way to participate in. It certainly gives some knowledge to. Following up on the Boy Scouts, a few days later, I was asked to address the Pinehurst Elementary School third grade class. There were 75 third graders who were rather animated. And again, I talked to them and asked them questions, and they asked me about what was it like when you talked to the Cub Scouts. So I said, well, they mentioned this idea that they've seen Bigfoot roaming around the village of Pinehurst. And so I'm thinking they would all laugh. And this one kid put his hand, I saw it too. So evidently, we need to go beyond the deer issue here in Pinehurst and figure out how this Bigfoot rumor got going. I also participated in the Neighborhood Advisory Committee meeting, and we had a good discussion about a variety of issues going on in the village, and went over some of the strategic planning that's coming up, and it was a good turnout. So we look forward to that. It's their last meeting for this year, and they'll begin in January with another meeting. And then today, myself and village manager attended the Tri-Cities meeting with the representatives from Aberdeen and Southern Pines, and someone from Central Pines Regional Organization, Lindsay Whitman.
Whitson.
Whitson, you may know her, Dr. Morgan. And we got a very good, thorough briefing about floods and water and what's happening around, particularly the Cape Fear Valley, which touches us a little. And she is going to do some more research, and she said that there are some communities that actually require some sort of flood plan study by developers as they are putting in new neighborhoods and so forth in their community. So it's something we might look at down the road, and she's going to get us some more information. But it was a very helpful discussion, and from that, I will go forth and ask Dr. Morgan for his comments.
Well, I appreciate it. I do not have a PowerPoint for the items, a much shorter list. I want to extend appreciation to MOA, the Military Officers Association of the United States, of the America rather, for their efforts in Veterans Day and putting on the celebration they had on the church. With that, I know that Southern Pines certainly did their portion of it, but it seemed like a very, very big success. Also just want to say thank you on Doug. Yes, this is our last meeting, and it's been a pleasure serving the people of Pinehurst, and certainly learned a great deal. Some days are better than others, but it's been a very educational process, and been happy to do that. Last thing I want to mention just for the announcements here is that we just recognized a couple firefighters for saving a life. And I'm going to throw a little editorial on this. When you see stuff that, or you see people doing CPR, they're using an AED to basically shock a patient to get a pulse back. Hollywood wants you to make you believe that the majority of these people are going to walk out and just live normal lives, and that's false. Minority of people that end up going through and having CPR and usually a AED also being used to shock them. The biggest factor on that is time. Okay, and so they got to rapidly be able to show up and there, first of all, knowledge base on being able to do CPR, and then if an AED is required, which it almost always is, that's applied. And so I recommend people have AEDs on there, recommend they be trained in CPR, but also do not forget was to be able to have trained firefighters, paramedics, to show up and be there quickly. Okay, so it's a big process that's on there. It's occurring from the village manager setting stuff up. It's there for the fire chief setting stuff up, the training that's required, and being in the system set up for folks to get there quickly. Okay, and so that's the importance of what we're doing up here, and we're talking about supporting the firefighters and supporting the police force, et cetera. It's a priority one in this community. I'm happy to see that we're successful in that, and just encourage the future councils to continue on recognizing that and making sure that people are resourced or the village is resourced to make that happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. Just a quick question. AEDs, how I mean, in public buildings, you see them a lot, but is that something that people should consider in their homes, or is it,
Or the back of their car.
or the back of their car?
Yeah,
Okay,
I would encourage that.
thank you.
So they have a variety of different products out there. I'm not an expert in AEDs, but it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the firefighters actually carried them in their own personal cars because they know the value of them.
Need it handy. Thank you. John Taylor, please.
I want to follow up on, just on the AEDs first for a minute. One of the jobs that I had along the way in a high-rise in Midtown Manhattan, they had the AEDs, and it occurred to me that although they've become relatively foolproof, that I had no idea how to actually operate them. And I would not have wanted to feel very good if someone that I worked with had suddenly collapsed, and there's an AED right there, and I didn't know. And that employer actually brought people from the Red Cross in to run a training session once a year so that anyone could learn how to operate it. It's a question, Doug, do we do that for village staff? Because I know we have these devices in the building.
Yeah, everyone is trained in CPR and using the AEDs.
Right, and again, I encourage, the more of them there are out there, the more rapidly someone might
Yeah.
be able to help.
We also have programs that we do occasionally for members of the public to learn how to use AEDs or do CPR.
Good.
In terms of official meetings, I attended a DOT presentation on their potential changes at the intersection of Morganton Road and Beulah Hill, North Carolina 5. When we survey the public, they always talk about traffic as an issue, and their major concern is never the traffic circle, it is actually traffic on Route 5. That particular intersection has a lot of constraints in it. The railroad track and its right-of-way, the golf courses, the historic nature of the properties around the racetrack, the harness track. With all of those constraints, I would say that the plan that the DOT has come up with is about as good as you're going to do. And I think will represent a significant improvement to traffic there, which I just came through this afternoon on my way to this meeting. They're going to extend, for those of you who may not be listening, for those of you who may be hearing this, they're going to extend the left-hand turn lane. If you are going southbound on Beulah Hill Road, it's currently 80 feet. They're going to make it 300. That will be like 10 or 11 cars should be able to be in that, maybe even 12. Northbound, they're going to add a much longer dedicated right-hand turn lane to turn right onto Morganton Road. So I would give, we sometimes have discussions with the DOT. I would give them kudos for this one. I think they're doing about as much as it is possible for them to do, and it will represent an improvement. Piggybacking on that, at the NAC meeting, one of the representatives from Pinehurst Trace mentioned this concept of a sliver. This is some piece of land that the DOT may require, dimensions yet to be determined, with respect to the proposed plan for the traffic circle. This was the first time that I had heard about a sliver being required other than along Dalrymple Road. So we will be in discussions with the DOT to try to understand that more, understand that better. Finally, I wanted to extend my thanks to both Jeff Morgan and Jack Farrell. One of the best things about running for local office is it's designed to be nonpartisan, and it is. And in the often difficult discussion arena above our level, at the state level or the national level, we've avoided that. We've agreed on an awful lot of things. When we haven't agreed, I think the dialogue has been an adult discussion of people who had legitimate differing views. I've learned a great deal from both of you. I thank you both for your service and for what I have learned from each of you, and wish you well as you go on from the council. That's it for me.
Thank you. John? Barb?
you. From the Beautification Committee this morning at 8:30 a.m., 30 volunteers from the Linden Garden Club, Beautification Committee, and the Pinehurst Garden Club fluffed 104 wreaths and their attached bows. Each wreath has 200 lights. The wreaths were hung by the village staff and will light tonight. In addition to that, from Pinehurst Business Partners, they would like to invite you to shop local this holiday season during their holiday open house, which is on Friday, December 5th from 4 to 7. Free holiday open house, open to the public. Each participating business is offering exclusive sales, giveaways, and treats. And it also happens to be on the same night as our tree lighting, which will occur around 6:30. So come early, enjoy the shopping and the Christmas tree lighting as well. In addition to that, I took Mr. Bill Comer's invitation up and attended the 11-11-11 service for our veterans at Community Presbyterian Church on Veterans Day. It was a lovely, very moving service, and each year, I did go last year as well, a group of quilters presents quilts to, it's called Quilts of Valor, to various, those who have served with distinction. And this year they had actually 6 quilts that they presented. It was a lovely service. Also attended the fraud prevention session that the police department offered last Friday. It was excellent. Not only very informative, one of the things that really came across was how willing our police force is to help us when something occurs in the world of fraud, and there's a lot of that going on. The statistics are growing, and it's very, it's frightening. But they're here to help us, and so and I believe, by the way, that session was filmed, was it not? So
It is. They're also willing to come too if there's groups like, at your church or Rotary or HOA. They're happy to come and do the same presentation and tailor it to whoever needs it.
great, thank you. It was very helpful. I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Jack Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple things. The NAC meeting, I was very impressed with the input that you're getting from the NAC. I think it's turning out to be a more vibrant organization relative to communicating with the community and also getting community input back. I think it's quite valuable. I was also struck by the survey results from number 6, as they correspond so closely with the survey results that we see in our own national or community-wide survey every year. So that's was reassuring. Attended the Fort Bragg Regional Land Use Advisory Commission quarterly directors meeting last week. Just a quick report on that. It was 106 cases reviewed and 16 letters sent out. To give you a little perspective on what that commission does, for example, today, as a matter of fact, at the commissioners meeting, they are considering a text amendment that will allow for a tower on in our western area that will be 106 feet tall, and the Regional Land Use Advisory Commission, of course, stays in touch with all those things. And we sent a letter to the board, it's a 195-foot steel tower. So we sent a letter, we being the Regional Land Use Advisory Commission, advising them that, and I'll read from the letter we sent, the adoption of the text amendment could pose a hazard to military aviation operations at Fort Bragg. These include a number of low-level aviation routes used for ingress and egress for airdrop missions, low-altitude military special use airspace, and Part 77 imaging surfaces associated with McCall Air Force Base. So the point is we stay on top of those ordinances that are changing within the 7 counties and 14 municipalities that are associated with Fort Bragg to make sure that any of the proposed legislation or ordinances and or approvals for developments do not impact the mission. I also want to mention that also at the meeting we discussed the fact that once again our legislature has passed a legislation that may or may not have ramifications in that It essentially makes it very, very difficult for any municipality to restrict the height of a flagpole. It may sound like it was done to satisfy one particular situation, but relative to Fort Bragg and the military mission, that could be very difficult to overcome. So I just point out that the kind of things that the Fort Bragg Regional Land Use Advisory Commission keeps track of are those things that are very important to the mission and to the community, as a matter of fact. So while I have the microphone, I'd like to give my thanks to some folks. Firstly, I'd like to thank the current council members, the 4 members to my right, for giving me the opportunity to serve the community. I'm humbled and grateful for your support and willingness to allow the opportunity for me. I appreciate that very much. A huge thanks to the village staff for all that you do to make the village a special place that it is. And I also take this opportunity to apologize for any distractions or interruptions I may have caused over the last 2 years that may have kept you from doing your job. So, special thanks to the community and the citizens for their support, sage advice and suggestions for improvement, and please don't stop being involved. It's what makes the difference. And lastly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank my wife Janet for her patience in putting up with my lack of focus from time to time and letting slip some domestic duties during my short time on the village. And also I'd like to not be able to do it without her support, and I now promise to start on the to-do list. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Jack. And before we go on, I was thinking about what to do with our 2 colleagues who are going to be moving on, and so I thought I'd find the right T-shirt for each of them. And we've teased Jack a lot of times about all his service here, and even suggested he might someday reappear, which you never knows because Jack is coming and going all the time. So Jack, I'd like to present you with a T-shirt right here. It says, Jack Farrell, Pinehurst Village Council, 2018 to 19 and 2024 to 2025. I shall return, is what it says. Jack, here you go.
Sort of like it or not.
Yeah. And not to be outdone, we got one for Dr. Morgan. And actually, this was an easy one to figure out what to put on his T-shirt. Doctor, you have left us with some memorable quotes, but there is no quote better than the one that I learned from you. The juice is not worth the squeeze. So here you go. Thanks for all your help. All right. And now, with all that behind us, we are going to move to the consent agenda. And so, to remind everybody that all items listed are considered routine or have been discussed at length in previous meetings and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion will be held unless requested by a member of the village council. We will be approving the council meeting minutes and we will be approving the October 30th special meeting minutes. With that, I will take a motion.
I move to approve all the items listed and considered routine on the consent agenda.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So adopted. Now we will move on to item 6. And this is a proclamation. Let me get my glasses so I can read it. Dealing with, which you've heard mentioned, Small Business Saturday proclamation for November 29th. So I'd like to read this. This is important for our community and our merchants downtown who do really a good job. If you walk down there and go in those shops, these are people we know and people we buy a lot of things from, and we should continue doing that. So whereas the Village of Pinehurst, North Carolina celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community, and whereas there are over 36 million small businesses in the United States, accounting for 99.9% of all U.S. businesses, whereas small business employs 62.3 million people, accounting for 45.9% of all private sector employees, and whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates an additional 50 cents in local business activity as a result of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas the Village of Pinehurst supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities, and whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council on this, the 18th of November 2025 as follows. We, the Village Council, do hereby proclaim Saturday, November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday and urge the residents and the communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. Thank you very much. Thank you, small business. Thank you, the merchants of Pinehurst. So, with that having said, we will sign the proclamation and move forward to the next item on our agenda, which is a resolution of appreciation. So, hold on. This resolution is for a gentleman who I've seen in action, Mr. Paul Sale. He's an invaluable member of the Village of Pinehurst community, and the times I've gone to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, as well as some of my colleagues who have been there from time to time, certainly know Mr. Paul Sale. He is not shy at these meetings. So let me read you the resolution honoring the service of Mr. Paul Sale. Whereas Mr. Paul Sale has been a dedicated and invaluable member of the Village of Pinehurst community, and whereas Mr. Sale has generously volunteered his time and expertise to serve on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and whereas Mr. Sale served with distinction on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee from October 24th, 2017 to August 31st, 2025, and whereas Mr. Sale's dedication to enhancing the quality of life for residents in the Village of Pinehurst community is demonstrated by his service on the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and whereas Mr. Sale provided essential advice and feedback to village leadership as the 2015 Comprehensive Bicycle Plan and Comprehensive Pedestrian Plans were implemented. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of the Village of Pinehurst, North Carolina, in a regular meeting assembled this 18th day of November 2025 as follows. That the Village Council hereby expresses on behalf of the citizens of the Village of Pinehurst its sincere gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Sale for his exemplary service and dedication to the community, and that a copy of this resolution will be spread upon the Village of Pinehurst and will be executed today by the mayor. Paul Sale, come on forward. Suitable for framing, but you can't ride it with your bicycle. You can't go on the bicycle with it.
Thank you.
So congratulations for all your effort.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate you
much.
and all your
We
service.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to say a
And
few
it
words, go
was-
ahead.
Well, it was great to be able to serve the town, the village, and I know that the work that I've been involved in is going to continue with, the rest of the team under Doug's leadership. He's doing a fabulous job, and Jeff and Shannon. So it's really been a pleasure to serve, and Doug, if you need an extra pair of hands with any other groups or projects or initiatives, you know where to come. Thank you so much.
inasmuch as we have given Mr. Sale his commendation, I move to approve Resolution 25-54 honoring Mr. Paul Sale.
Second.
A second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so approved. No, no. That's correct. Ride around town with it.
Carefully.
Yes, carefully. Okay. All right, so now we will go on to, okay, this is a resolution also, and this is considering a resolution to appointing Mr. Leslie Les Fleischer to the Planning and Zoning Board and the Board of Adjustment. I don't,
Yeah, Les is not here today.
not here. Doug, you want to tell us a little bit about Les? Some of us have met with him, and he's very impressive.
Yeah, Les is a great individual. We met with him a couple months ago. He is a former attorney, worked in the land development field, so he has lots of experience with this and has worked with planning and zoning boards in the past. We feel like his experience will work really well with the quasi-judicial roles that he will have both on the planning and zoning and board of adjustments. So we recommend his approval, and I know some of you have met with him as well, so I think he'll do a great job filling the role.
Okay. Any other comments? I will say I met with him, and I think I met with him with John Taylor, and he was an impressive guy with a lot of experience in this general field, so hopefully he'll be able to assist us.
I think Les is an excellent selection.
Okay.
In fact, I move to approve Resolution 25-38, appointing Mr. Leslie Les Fleischer to the Planning and Zoning Board and Board of Adjustment effective January 1st, 2026, to serve at the pleasure of the council until the end of his term on December 31st, 2028.
Motion?
Question? I thought he was coming on as of December. He's not on until January 1st?
Yeah, so we needed a little time to onboard him, and we didn't have enough time with the holiday to do that before the next planning and zoning meeting.
Second the motion.
Okay. Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, he's appointed. Good luck. Now we will go to the public comments portion of our agenda, item 9. So I don't know, is anybody, okay, no one has signed the sheet indicating that they'd like to make a public comment, but if you haven't signed and you'd like to make one, you can come forward at this moment and have your say. Okay. Seeing no one, we will now move to a public hearing. And this is a continuation of the public hearing for the new Pinehurst Development Ordinance from October 30th, 2025. Sure, I should read this, that the purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment on the new proposed Pinehurst Development Ordinance. The new PDO is a result of a goal in the 2019 Comprehensive Plan. The primary goals of the comprehensive update are to implement recommendations of the 2019 Comprehensive Plan, update development and design standards, removing consistencies, update standards to include legislative changes, and new graphics and illustrations. The new PDO will apply to all properties within the village limits and the ETJ. So, I think we need a motion. Motion.
Do I need to do a motion to reenter?
I think you do.
Okay, I move to recess the regular meeting and reenter the public hearing continued from the October 30, 2025 special meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
So adopted. I see our guests are here. Well, let us begin with you guys, and then if there are public comments, we'll entertain them. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Alex and Cindy here again. I don't know how many trips this is now we've got, but here we are. Again, this is a continuation from the public hearing that was initially scheduled and heard on October 30th. So there have been a little bit of summary of changes that we would like to highlight. It's a very, very brief presentation that we have for you this evening. As in large, we went through the comprehensive updates to the development ordinance at the October 30th special meeting. So you guys may recall that Doug really kind of led a little bit of the discussion with you guys to get a consensus on a couple of items that we would like to make some final revisions to. One of the main ones, or at least the more quote-unquote extensive of those changes, was changing the terminology relative to the Board of Adjustment from zoning Board of Adjustment to Board of Adjustment. And Cindy and I both lost count how many times throughout the document that board is actually referenced, but we have made those changes. And also with the meeting agenda packet and posted online with the website, we have provided a strike-through underlined document of what has changed from what was heard at the October 30th meeting. There were some minor preferences on language and grammatical changes based on that dated October 20th draft that we made. Based on direction from our legal counsel, we removed the revocation of conditional districts, which had been previously in the PDO since 2014. There were some changes based on changes in state law relative to filing of applications where certain applications had been denied. That's no longer available for local governments. There was some clarification over the village planner and village manager on the authority for exempt and minor subdivisions, which were updated to the village planner. Also, one of the things that we have learned through the extensive federal government shutdown due to the not passing of a budget until recently, we are one of 2 local jurisdictions in the state of North Carolina, especially the only one in the Sandhills region, where there are significant potential impacts to the red-cockaded woodpecker habitat, or RCW habitat. And we have historically always required a concurrence letter from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service before the issuance of a development permit, where applicable. Now, the federal guidelines and requirements under the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service have significantly changed through the years, and obviously with the government shutdown, there was no staff member available. So this actually caused quite an extensive backlog in our development applications. So we have sought to make a small change in the submission requirement and the prerequisites to approval, that we receive that concurrence from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and or that we receive a consultant biological assessment letter, which U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is requiring anyway, that states that there is no negative impact on that RCW habitat. Clarifications on how the special intensity allocations are granted for high-density development options within the watershed overlay district. Also, based on direction from our attorney, changing the requirements for religious institutions in the use table, where they were listed as a special use to a permitted by right, or a P in the use table. And we have updated the built-upon area and impervious surface definition to match the changes in state law beginning January 1st of this year, of 2025. So those are the main changes. There have been a couple other changes that we've communicated over the past couple of days about relative to how rounding is determined with dimensional or density calculations, so it goes to the nearest whole number, and the removal of a vehicular wayfinding sign definition. So that's really all we have to update everyone on from the October 30th hearing. Next steps, obviously, after the public hearing agenda item, if following council receiving additional public comments on the proposed PDO, and after consideration of closing the public hearing, draft ordinance 2518, I believe, has been provided again as a following agenda item. Also, as part of the project kickoff, there's still a couple of things that we plan to execute. One of those would be some substantial updates and amendments to the Engineering Standards and Specifications Manual, or the ESSM. And we will also be bringing for formal adoption a flood prevention ordinance. At the October 30th hearing, I presented the opportunity to bring this for consideration at today's council meeting. I have since communicated probably way too much over flood prevention standards to the village council. Felt it was important to have that background, but in order to not confuse that with the adoption of the PDO, this will come at a later date, and I will look to hopefully and likely run that concurrently with the updates to the Engineering Standards and Specifications Manual.
I have one quick question related to those upcoming items. Do you expect those to be completed in the first quarter of next year, by the second quarter? How long do you think we, as a village staff and a council, will need to come up
Sure. So I can confidently state, based on my experience here with the Village Planning Inspections Department, I would not want to put any expectation of a date there, but I would expect that the initial stages will begin next month with discussions with Cindy, Mike Apke, our Public Services Engineering Director, and myself to sort of strategize how to approach that update. As you may imagine, Mike and I have a pretty long wish list, and we've had some discussions with Mike through the PDO update beginning in the summer. So I would expect that to really kick off in earnest in the first of the year. I would see that based on a lot of the public comment and the concerns that we know that are in the area related to some of the engineering standards like stormwater, erosion control, we will likely be bringing some topics to council pretty early on to get some feedback and direction, as they would have some major impacts to how that document or those updates are drafted. So I would think it would be ideal to have something at least to Village Council for some direction in the first quarter.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I'll turn to my colleagues here who want to ask some questions, and I may jump in myself. But let me begin with the Dean of the Planners Development Ordinance, Jack Farrell.
No, I think it's turned out quite well. I think it's been a long process. You've engaged a lot of the community, which I think is healthy, and yet at the same time can be disruptive as, not disruptive is the wrong word, but it can drag things out. And we appreciate all the effort you've made. I think the open house was beyond my expectations. I think it was beyond everyone's expectations, how well we were able to articulate to the community what we're doing and explain in detail each individual item should they choose to find out about it. I think the document is sufficiently more readable than the old one. At least the type font is beyond 8. It's well organized. I think it's quite usable, and I think both the staff, hopefully, and also the developers will find it more useful when they, or even the community, if they come forward with, what can I do as far as fences? I mean, they know where to go now and to get good examples. I think it's very well done. I think it's been a great job. I think you're right on that the stormwater and the engineering manual is probably a super high priority, particularly within the community. So I would look forward to seeing that make some progress there. So all in all, I'm very pleased. I've read all 300 or 404 pages and a couple times, and my eyes are shot. So, but I think it's well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barb?
How do you follow that? Well, this has been an incredible experience for me. I thought I had an idea of what was in the PDO, and I realize now I had no idea what all was really in the PDO. I too have read all 425 pages. Unfortunately, I didn't read them in order. So I'm not sure I'm totally aware of what's included in it, but I know how to find things. And I also know when I go to look for things that they're not only understandable, but they're wonderful graphics to go with it, and I think that was a huge addition. It has been a pleasure serving on this committee. Everyone has worked so hard. I think the finished product is great, and thank you.
Okay. We'll go down. Dr. Morgan? Any thoughts, questions?
The goal is accomplished on the product here. I think it's an excellent product. Thank you for that. I won't say the proof is in the pudding here. That's like another saying or something. But the reality of the effectiveness is going to be found out over the next few years. And I'm very optimistic that it's going to be very effective and really improve the function of how we're able to manage different things in the village. So thank you, and good job.
John Taylor, go right ahead.
Yeah, in the early days, when I thought it might be possible for us to end up with a red line version of the new versus the old, obviously I was becoming more familiar, as Barb did, with the old. And certainly, both the study committee and you all are to be commended because this is a substantially improved product, much more usable, an index that a layman can actually use as well as a builder or developer to try to find what it is that they're looking for. So no question that we've come a long way. I had a private, I had an email exchange just with Alex. I did not bother to copy everyone on this. One 20,000-foot question that I had, and maybe no one else on the council cares, but there's reference to a purpose or a goal of this document to be sure that the council provides adequate, and there's some things that we do provide, but it included schools, it included water, and it included, what was the third one, Alex?
Wastewater
No, it
and
was-
transportation.
It was schools, well, water and sewer.
Yep, and
None of
transportation.
which we have responsibility for. Now, I have no problem with that being in our comp plan, but I wonder whether it's appropriate to have this, because the purpose of this is an executional document. This is where you go to find out, how do you do X, Y, or Z? What can you do, what can't you do, and so forth. So I wonder whether that, beyond the nitty-gritty, which we're past that anyway. The second
Try to
thing,
answer your
and I
question,
too read the
John.
400,
Not to necessarily get into the detail, but from my perspective, a good development ordinance requires good development. And part of good development is providing for water, sewer, and all the rest of the infrastructure that's necessary. And so you look at all of it, and I think the staff does that. So to that extent, you may be in stretching a point a bit, but I think to that extent, the PDO actually does address some of those issues, if that makes sense.
now, water and sewer I had less problem with, but schools, I wondered about, but okay, fine. The second thing, and I intended to look for this because I remember some of the conversation early on, and either I forgot or I looked at it and my eyes had glazed over. There was discussion about planned unit development language that had been in an earlier version, that had been taken out for reasons that even the resident dean couldn't remember exactly why it was taken out. I'm not sure there are that many remaining parcels of land other than in the ETJ where such a, but is it back in? I can't remember.
It is not.
It is not, okay.
It is not.
So
I
didn't-
believe that is a topic for discussion
Yeah,
later.
we're going to discuss that in the work session. And so if you want to answer the question as to why you brought that up, why it was taken out, I'd love to hear that.
And maybe theorize.
Go ahead.
The planned development proposal that was in the 2005, actually, development ordinance, I believe it had some provisions that no longer made sense after 2014. One was that it was restricted to, only would apply to parcels that are greater than 100 acres and were currently zoned R30, of which there was none remaining within the village of Pinehurst or even in the ETJ, because we had annexed Pinewild by that time. The other is it had some goofy provisions that I don't think would have been satisfactory. For example, one of the provisions was that for every parcel that is less than 30,000 square feet, you have to subtract whatever it is from 30,000 and add that to the open space. That would be sort of awkward to implement, and in fact probably wouldn't make a lot of sense going forward. So those are the kind of provisions that made it appear dated and not very usable going forward. So,
But I thought that was the purpose of this rewrite, was to update that.
well,
We
are
don't have it
updating
right now. We'll discuss that in the work session, so I don't want to go too far out. But we have a glaring omission that we'll discuss. And right now, the reasoning is because there were some outdated ordinances when we're supposed to update stuff. Let's talk later.
We're starting down the path of creating the PRD or PUD, but on a more broad basis. Well, we'll discuss that in more detail later.
I couldn't remember whether I had missed it, whether it was in, whether it was out. So the answer is that the document that we may be asked to approve here shortly
Is out.
does not contain that language.
Does not.
Subject to further discussion later tonight.
Yes.
It does not. And evidently, it was overcome by a combination of events and common sense. This is why it fell out. The 100-acre thing and I get it. I get why it dropped out. Okay, Dr.,
I
I
think
mean,
that- I
John,
think,
what else did you want to bring
No,
up?
I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Is there anybody here, unless we have another question for these folks, I might have one in a moment, but is there anyone here who would like to, sign up and chat about this? Well, we have that. These are for you. We'll begin with Lynn Goldhammer. Lynn, please identify yourself and state where you live and step up to the microphone.
Hi, Lynn Goldhammer, 11 Salem Lane, here in Pinehurst. And I haven't been to any of these meetings in a while, so it's possible that my question and curiosity has already been addressed. But when I went to that presentation on this zoning for the future here, there were 2 areas of town zoned for the sex industry.
For what
And-
industry?
Sex industry.
Yeah, sexual-oriented businesses.
Oh,
We call them SOBs.
okay. I wasn't
And
familiar with that section of town, but go right ahead.
yeah, it seems there's 2 of them. I believe one was Olmsted Village and the other, I think, was Rattlesnake Road area.
Olmsted Village is not in our Pinehurst corporate.
Then it may not have been there. Was it over by the post office? I know it was,
I don't know, Alex, you probably do know.
Neighborhood commercial, and I forget the other zoning designation.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Lynn. Go ahead. This is news
Okay.
to me.
well, I did see there were 2 areas. And so I was wondering if you could clarify what this sex industry zoning will include. Will this be brothels, strip clubs, porn shops? I'd appreciate clarification on it.
Well, okay. I don't,
I think Alex should answer this one.
I have been waiting my entire planning career to answer this question.
go right ahead.
So Cindy, it's neighborhood commercial, and what is the other?
Neighborhood, it's,
Just neighborhood
Just neighborhood
commercial.
commercial,
Yep.
that's
So there is a legal requirement for all local jurisdictions that exercise zoning that you cannot exclude, and again, the industry term is sexually oriented businesses, again, SOBs for short, from your zoning jurisdiction. A lot of places are very careful for how they work and allow for these type of uses within their jurisdiction. We have special requirements that have distance requirements from religious institutions, schools, residential neighboring properties. Again, only allowed in neighborhood commercial district with the issuance of a special use permit, which requires a quasi-judicial procedure where an applicant would have to prove, they have the burden to prove that they meet all the subjective standards of review, which I won't go into great detail. They're easily found in Chapter 6 now of the new development ordinance. So that's just a provision that we check a box, that we meet that legal requirement, and it has been that way for numerous decades.
Yeah. Alex,
It's not a change.
would it be safe to say that we make it as difficult as legally possible to open an SOB in
Well, I wouldn't say difficult. I'd say we add provisions that.
protections? Yes.
That seem like realistic provisions, such as distance from schools and things like that.
5 standards that would have to be met.
Okay.
At a minimum, and that's outside of getting a special use permit approval.
Most of those standards are state mandated standards.
Most of the standards are industry standards, we'll say. They're pretty common. In some areas.
When you say industry standard, could you define what that industry is?
Planning and zoning industry. I'm not an expert in the other.
So Cindy, could you just point out the
Sure, this-
section, so
Yeah,
if
it's
Lynn
S-
wants to make a note of this?
It's in Chapter 6, and it's SR 12, sexually oriented business, and there's 5 standards related to that.
Chapter 6, Lynn.
This is in the PDO?
Yes, it's in the.
What law is requiring us to have a provision for sex industry in town? When you're saying it's like mandated, because someone at the meeting, when I was talking to a gal, she said, oh, it's required by law. When I looked up, is there a federal law requiring every state to have this, have prostitution, sex stuff, et cetera? I couldn't find any. So then I looked, is there a state law that requires this in every town? I didn't find anything. So I'm wondering what it is that's outside of Pinehurst that is directing that Pinehurst must accommodate sex stuff.
Before they
here.
answer, I think the way I interpret this is a provision to protect us here in Pinehurst. But I'll ask Alex and Cindy to go ahead.
I'll jump in that the Supreme Court has weighed in on this and that they require, like Alex said earlier, that they ruled on this, and so every community has to have an area where it could possibly be located. So Lynn, I can reach out to you and provide some of the details on that.
Yeah, well, that would be good, because, I mean, that was right on those charts, and meanwhile, it seems our representatives didn't even realize it was there, that those areas were being proposed, zoned, sex industry friendly. And I don't know about anyone else here, but
Lynn, I think you're mischaracterizing that. It's not proposing to be zoned that way for sex industry in our town. I think what's been said here, it's a required thing to be put in there, all-encompassing, saying that we cannot exclude them from the zoning aspect. But I assure you that if they're proposing a strip joint or a brothel in Pinehurst, I will be the first to lead the picket lines and protest this peacefully to ensure it does not happen. I cannot imagine that the free market of Pinehurst would allow that to occur. So I think it's just a standard thing that's required, but I do not see this being palatable at all for a citizenry.
I would hope not, because when I look at your mission standard to enhance, sustain, and promote, enhance, and sustain the quality of life of residents, businesses, and visitors here in town, I think that sexually oriented businesses would not meet any of those parts of your mission. And the vision to keep this a charming, vibrant community which reflects our rich history and traditions. I don't think we have a rich history and tradition of sex industry in Pinehurst.
Which is why I don't think this is something that you should be very worried about, and you need to have faith in both the elected officials and the village staff to make the decisions in the best interest of the village of Pinehurst and its stated mission.
Well, I hope so, because, I mean, as we say, this hasn't existed and won't before again. Well, all these apartment buildings popping up all over our county didn't exist before, and we never thought they would.
Well, they're
not
not popping up in Pinehurst, so I think we're
right around the corner there.
Is it in Pinehurst?
That 800 square foot apartments right there in the greens.
That's 8 years ago.
Yeah, and people
So
were
I'm
trying to
just saying
fight
that-
it then, too.
Well, is it been something more recent than that? No one sitting on this council was there at that time.
Well, I hope not,
Okay.
because once the charm and quality goes away, it never seems to come back. And the other thing that I've noticed from being in organizations, it seems once they get into strategic planning, they always become a worse version of what they were. And when you have a 500-page document about this planning stuff, I think it's easy for things to get slipped in there that people miss.
Well, that's why we had so many focus groups. That's why we had so many public meetings. That's why we've carried over the public hearing from the last meeting to this meeting. And that's why we're going to have some more discussion, and we'll hear from any other resident tonight.
That's good. I appreciate that, because the only thing I know is what most people out there are saying. They're not liking what's happening in this county and just blanket vote everyone out because they're allowing it. So,
Thank you, Lynn.
thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now, is there anybody else who has would like to speak on the PDO as it's as it is at this moment, who has not signed up and would like to come forward? Hearing none, okay. Is there anybody here at the council who has further questions or thoughts? So I do have one that I received from a resident, and I'll bring it up because it sounds rather small in its impact, but I think it's worth noting. And that has to do with the section on voluntary annexation. And what was pointed out is that there is no mention that the village can decide not to annex land, as well as it can decide to annex land. It's a small thing to include in there, but I think it's worth mentioning, simply for a reader who may accept a proposed annexation as something that is fait accompli, rather than that their village council may be able to speak up on that. So that's the only, yes, that was the only item.
I believe that within the PDO, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, that the decision to annex or not annex a property is a council decision. And so there is a possibility to say yes, and there's a possibility to say no.
Is it in this PDO somewhere?
It is not in the PDO, and development ordinances typically don't make mention of properties that are potentially not subject to said ordinance, which property wouldn't be unless it were annexed. And North Carolina General Statute 160A rules over annexations, not local development ordinance.
Well, I mean, along the lines of the reference to schools, we can include something on annexation. That's my only point.
I mean, the state law is absolutely clear that the village, the council has the ability to say yes or no to any annexation petition.
One of the proposed amendments in the most recent draft, other than renaming planning and zoning to planning and zoning, was removing that one provision on revocation of a conditional zoning approval, because it turns out that's against state law. And so there's no point in having it in there because we can't do that anyway. Are there other cases where we have cited the ability to, specifically to approve or deny? Because in principle, I agree with what Pat is saying, but maybe because of the state law, maybe it's kind of superfluous, I don't know.
Relative to annexations?
No, relative to anything, where we say yes, or you can approve or reject.
It depends on the development proposal and the decision type, but yes, that is covered within the PDO. But again, those are zoning decisions that the PDO does rule over. The PDO would not rule over an annexation decision.
Gotcha, okay. I think the point is well made, but it sounds like we don't need it in the PDO because it is covered elsewhere. And were that to change, or something to change, it would change in 160A or somewhere else. No.
All right, any other comments or questions? Anybody want to point out something else that we may have missed, or?
Going, gone type of thing?
Well, I'm getting near the end here. I just don't want us to have a regret later. I'm just, if there's, speak now, forever hold your peace, as they say.
Till the next.
We're about to be married to this, and so we better be clear about it. Okay. Well, then
On the procedural matter, we should close the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we can discuss the approval at the next agenda item.
Okay.
I move to adjourn the public hearing and re-enter the regular meeting.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so adopted. I like to say, I went back into my PDO file, which has been accumulated with a lot of things over the last year, and I found, I like to go back to the beginning of these things. So I found the pilot's story. Pinehurst hires consultants to update development rules. December 18th, 2024. So that was where we officially sort of began. And the purpose, I think it was stated earlier about the purpose, was, there were three simple bullets that were once sent to us by the village managers. The purpose was to implement key recommendations from the 2019 comprehensive plan and the small area plans, modernize development and design standards, and create a more user-friendly, graphics-rich ordinance. And I think we have met our purpose, to put it succinctly. We certainly had a lot of community meetings. The Planning and Zoning Board had a public hearing. We've had a hearing and a half, or if you want to count this as 2 hearings at the Village Council. When we began, we really, the purpose answered the question as to why. And the why, we wanted to remove some inconsistencies. We wanted to include some robust illustrations that would make it more easier for residents, developers, and others to see what we're talking about rather than having to read every word on every 450 pages. And we wanted to streamline and clarify things. Though the document got larger, but that was in the sheer page numbers, that has to do really with a lot of addition of graphics, and in addition to things that have changed in the last 6 or 7 years since we adopted our small area plans, and the legislature has done various things. I want to compliment what I'll call the who, the answer to the question of who. The focus group members. We have 2 of them sitting here, Jack Farrell and Barb. We've had Calvin Berkeley, who was Director of Planning and Projects at the resort. We had Kevin Fitzpatrick, who was the president at the time of the Village Neighborhood, and a member, president of the Pinehurst number 6 HOA, and now is a councilman-elect. We had a local builder, Mr. Travis Green. We had Matt Jones, who chairs our Planning and Zoning Board. And we had a landscape architecture and land planner in Mr. Bob Kuntz. I do think it was rather shrewd of you guys to have several pictures of Jack Farrell in this document. I'll just leave that as I noticed those as I kept flipping through the pages. The summary of changes which you've outlined, I just want to cover a few of them because I think it's important to remind our residents of some of the things that we've done that they may not be aware of, since no one expects them to read every page of this document. There's a recommendation for a new highway corridor overlay district, which has been in the news lately because of the current one. There's been some question about it, but I, for one, believe it's been a very useful tool for Moore County and for Pinehurst itself, and so I compliment you on that. You revised the minor major subdivision and minor major site plan thresholds for a little more clarity there. You updated the application processes to be consistent with the North Carolina general statutes. There was a revision to the landscape and buffer yard standards, which is a big plus. And I mentioned earlier the new graphics. And one of the things that you included that was absent in the past, which I think is a very good step for the village of Pinehurst, was you have put in the PDO the requirement for neighborhood meetings so that our residents can be in on the takeoff as well as the landing of this process. One of the things that is sometimes frustrating, but it's actually declined, I think, over the last few years, is the question from a resident of how did that happen? Where was I that this got through the process? I hear less and less of that because I think there's been a lot more transparency in the last few years. But to give you an idea, those of you who are listening, neighborhood meetings are required for the following: all rezoning applications, conditional zoning, major site plans, major subdivisions, and all other projects determined to have a significant community impact by the village planner. That's good. So, I think we have a really fine, new, updated PDO that will be buttressed in the coming year or so with our engineering standards and stormwater management considerations, erosion issues, and I'm confident that both our residents and our developers, as well as the staff and the village council, will have a clearer understanding of the landscape of this whole process than they would have if they always had to refer to the 6-year-old document, which was rather awkward at times. So, thank you for this work product, particularly Cindy and Alex, who've been with it since December 18th of 2024. And I ask my colleagues if they have any other thoughts, or we can move forward.
I'd like to comment on, I was alarmed and pleased that it came in on schedule, because having managed a whole bunch of large-scale projects over the years, I'm a little skeptical that the initial project plan's gonna make it. And here we are, almost exactly on schedule. It's just amazing and well done. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Pat, that you mentioned December 18th, so we're 11 months to the day. I think it was very much on the timeline that we were hoping that when we sent out
A year.
the RFP to get a consultant, that was in the timeline, and as far as I know, we completed it on budget as well, so on time and on budget.
Okay.
I've got a couple questions. I mentioned before, I think the product is excellent on what has been done here, especially with the guidance you've given. The council gave the guidance on a series of different things. I want to ask, what is the purpose, or first of all, what's the difference between a PRD and a PUD, if you don't mind answering that? And what is the purpose of them?
It just depends, Jeff. They both fall under the greater umbrella of a plan development. So you can tailor a plan development if you want it to be just for residential development, which would be the PRD, planned residential development. Most cases are just referred to as a PUD, planned unit development, and it's just whatever that master plan entails, if it's just residential, if it's mixed use with residential and non-residential, or if it's just strictly non-residential. So you can have different classifications. So that terminology is just the difference in classifications between, residential, mixed, or straight non-residential.
Okay. So understand that the PUD is more encompassing. Then the second part of the question, what's the purpose of them?
Just kind of, the term flexible is used a lot. It allows for something that a typical standalone zoning map and zoning uses are very rigid. You can have only this type of zoning use or this type of use of building in this zoning classification, but you can have this type of use in this other zoning classification. You got to have one or the other. Oftentimes, you can't have them both. So when there's a site that a local jurisdiction has identified as it's prudent to have a mix of or assemblage of type development, or we're one that can't quite check all the very rigid boxes of just a standard out-of-the-box residential or standard out-of-the-box commercial zoning district, then you can maximize flexibility in the design, incorporate additional development or design standards, take into account other environmental constraints. It's really kind of not necessarily a wild card, but it's an option that a local jurisdiction and an applicant or developer can really just customize that site to that property.
And so what, by not having it, what does that put us at risk for or help us for?
You have limited options in a sense.
So with limited options, dive into that a little bit more for me. What do you mean by limited options?
So you would just have to follow the standard Euclidean zoning of, you either have a residential zoning and it has to be this size at this density with this development standard, or you have to have this zoning district at this density at this zoning standard, or this, that, or the other, instead of having the opportunity to, brush whatever you like.
Okay, but it sounds like this is a flexibility thing it gives the village, but it's not an agreement with any specific developer or anything like that, correct? This is just
No,
a
it's,
standard?
it's completely mutual between the local jurisdiction and any applicant.
I appreciate all the efforts. I think it's an excellent document on there. I think that not having the PUD is a glaring omission for this. I think we should have that in there. But I'm certainly going to support this, and the hope is that this will be amended in the future where we do have that. And we'll discuss that in the next meeting.
Well, yeah, the PUD is something that'll be taken up
We'll take it
later.
on the work session. I just wanted to have the information on here specifically
That's fine.
to that. So
Sounds
I
good.
do hope we're able to reload, not
Okay.
obviously me, but I hope this council relooks it.
Jeff's comment jogged one other thing in my memory, and I actually found in 1.2A4, there is reference to, and I just jotted down the note, I don't have the full site, of extensive commercial, an extensive commercial district, which doesn't seem to be defined anywhere, and that's okay. But what I was thinking about was, could it apply not to Village Place in particular, and specifically to the area currently occupied by the maintenance facility, to the extent that may be developed at some point in the not-too-distant future. And picking up on Jeff's thought, we understand that this is not the last bite at the apple. There will be amendments to this document at some point in the future. We may make one yet tonight in the work session, but I was kind of struck by the broad nature of that term with no definition as to what it might mean and what are the ramifications for that.
So it would be at the discretion of the village council. Again, similar to Chapter 1 with the section you referenced, even though these are very specific and technical ordinances, the local development ordinances, there's always that introductory general intent language. This is what this chapter intends to do. This is what it aspires to do, and then it tells you what the actual law is, right? So the only time that would really have any application is if you're looking to change the zoning classification, or if you're if a local, whatever the appropriate board is directed by the local development ordinance, is adjudicating a development application. You look at that in that subjective criteria and say, oh, do we feel like it meets that general intent or not? On top of several other boxes that are more objective that you would look at. So does it have any real application? It's aspirational. That's the terminology that you mentioned very appropriately that is typically found within comprehensive plans. That doesn't really tell you to do something. It tells you what you should think about doing.
And the intent statements were pretty much copied over from the original PDO. There weren't any changes to those unless it would have been minor wording, wordsmithing a little bit, changing some of the grammar. But this was taken from the original and carried into this version.
And it was probably related to one of the new core or other terminologies of monikers that we placed on that area that you referenced down the hill.
Multiple iterations of
Yes.
designs for that, yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I think we are at the conclusion of the discussion. If there is we can now consider adopting the new PDO. The options are to approve as written, approve with amendments, or not to disapprove, or
Would you like a motion?
I just wanted to go over the options, and I will certainly take a motion, or we could postpone consideration to a future meeting date or meeting type.
I do not advise us to postpone it in any way, shape, or form. I would be happy to make a motion unless there's more discussion.
Please make the motion.
Okay. I move to approve ordinance 25-18, adopting the new Pinehurst Development Ordinance, PDO. And I find that the new PDO is consistent with the Village of Pinehurst 2019 Comprehensive Plan, specifically implementation strategies 1.1, 1.3, 2.15, 2.16, 2.17, 2.21, 3.1, 4.14, 4.15, 7.6, 7.9, 7.15, and 7.20. And further find the proposal is consistent with the Village Place and Pinehurst South form-based guidance plans which have recommendations for site, landscape, and architectural design.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those, then we have adopted it. Done deal. Okay. Now, we need to go to ordinance 25-17, amending the name of the zoning board of adjustment to the Board of Adjustment. I think we need to formally do that, don't we?
Yeah, so in our municipal code, it is different now from our PDO and in North Carolina General Statute, so we're recommending that we change it to zoning board of adjustment, to Board of Adjustment to make it consistent.
Okay. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that at all. I don't. I'll take a motion if anyone would like to offer one.
I move to approve ordinance 2517, amending the name of the zoning board of adjustment to the Board of Adjustment in the Village of Pinehurst Municipal Code.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion adopted. Okay, we're done with ordinances. We're now on to item 12, which is resolution. We have one to consider Resolution 25-53, authorizing the sale of certain real property at public auction. This is Torrey Pines and Longleaf is the location. So Doug, you want to discuss this?
Yeah, we have been very successful in selling off surplus properties. Several months ago, we talked about selling 5, and these would be the last 2 of those 5 that we are looking to sell. So we will, if council approves, we'll work on this next month and hopefully get an auction date and prices in the near future.
Okay. I got a couple of questions. Where precisely, is this on the map? Did I see a map earlier in our material? I thought I did. Oh, yes. Okay, so this is,
Long Island
Leaf
Village
Drive.
Acres in the far northwest corner, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah, yes.
where is it? Take us to the lot. Oh, I see it right there. Okay, and what is
That's number 8 to the left.
that's number 8 to the left. Now I'm clear where it is. Okay. I don't, looks fine to me. Can we do the same with the other piece of property?
So, Doug, just wanted to point out a couple things relative to this property. This appears to be, at least according to the GIS map, an 80 by 120 lot, 9,600 square feet. It appears to be in the R10 zoning district, which is a 10,000 square foot lot. So this would be, it exists as and probably will remain as a non-conforming lot.
Okay.
Pre-existing non-conforming lot, I think is the appropriate term.
Yeah, I believe so.
It also has a 14-foot drop in elevation from the front to the back, which is a 10% slope, which is buildable but difficult. But once again, the slope may add considerable difficulty, not only to the development, but more importantly, it will require extra careful stormwater management on this particular property since it abuts very closely other parcels that are fully developed at this time.
Yeah, that's correct. If I recall correctly from driving by and looking at the map, the back definitely slopes down quite quickly and right into someone else's backyard. So you're right. Any development on that parcel will need to be careful that it treats its neighbors well. And, we are kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel on these surplus properties. Like, is this one that, is it even buildable? It's close, and so it's one of the few that we have remaining that we're looking forward to dispensing of.
And is it also in Village Acres?
No, the Torrey Pines is over in, That's
Oh, by Sugar Pine, okay,
Off,
Lake Forest
Burning
Drive,
Tree.
okay.
area.
And what's the size of that lot, let's see there?
It's a pretty good sized lot. It's certainly bigger than the zoning, for sure. And it has a sufficient road frontage and it has fairly good dimensions. It does, once again, slope approximately 15 feet according to the GIS.
Okay. Did,
From front right to back left and is developed on all sides.
do either of these lots have any strings attached to them about what can be developed there as far as,
I mean, just the zoning, which would be
just the zoning,
residential.
there's nothing about public usage or anything like that?
From recollection, the first lot that we sold, we put a minimum out. And we were surprised to get
Yes.
substantially more than the minimum. We did not do that with the last lots. Jack, I think you're bringing up good points, which will be reflected in what a buyer would potentially pay for this. Are we again thinking that we will put no minimum price on these?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
We've been lucky. I think we've talked in the past, Doug, that I think the number is, it's now less than the original number we had of 73 residential lots. But for our purposes of our retreat and the right meeting, I think it'd be wise if we could see the inventory of all these, so we know what is actually out there village-wide, and which ones are either have strings attached to them that we should just leave be, or are ones that we should accelerate after doing our due diligence and post them out there. These are all great victories for the village if we can get them on the tax rolls.
Yeah.
And hopefully some people will build a home and become part of our village family.
Yeah, we looked through all these quite in depth, and Shannon has the spreadsheet that we looked at. The ones that we felt comfortable that would actually be potentially buildable are the 5 that we recommended earlier. We can review the other ones as well, but we're pretty close to having everything that we think is sellable sold.
You think the remainder of these are either unsaleable or have,
Or-
unbuildable or have strings attached so that we should
Or,
not sell?
or we have a public purpose for holding them, yeah.
Is there any that are next to each other that if put together could possibly be a attractive lot?
There are a couple on Barrel Circle there that are power line easements. We can look at those because the power lines do go through them, and so there's not a lot of space that's actually buildable on those. But if someone could potentially consolidate the 3 lots into one, I bet a house could be built on them.
Interesting, okay.
Those have, well, I mean, it's an outside potential to be part of the trail system, though.
That would be my recommendation, is it runs along the easement for the power lines, and if we could ever,
Access rights.
yes, I think that would be a great access, a couple parking spots, and it'd be an ideal use of that space.
Okay, well, we can look at them more thoroughly when we have
And
some time.
And all in full disclosure, that's like across the street from my house. So.
Right, well, we realize your interest in that property, Doug, and so we will factor that in. Okay. Well, unless anyone has any other questions or wants to raise a point here, we can
I
consider the
move to
resolution.
approve Resolution 25-53, authorizing the sale of certain real property at public auction for the following village-owned vacant lots: 1060 Longleaf Drive Northwest, parcel ID 000-23270, Unit 15, Lot 14, PH2, and 15 Torrey Pines Lane, parcel ID 000-23556, Unit 1, Lot 574, PH1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. Onward. We now will go to item 13, which is regular business. We have 3 items here. The first one is consider bids for the fiscal year 2026 resurfacing project. Is someone
So,
going forward, or is it you, Doug?
I'll cover this one, and if I make a mistake, Carlton's going to jump up and correct me.
Okay.
So we have $1.5 million in our annual resurfacing budget. We put out 5 miles to bid, and we got bids back. Turner Asphalt was the lowest bidder with a bid of $1,329,119.60. Turner, it was our contractor last year. We had a very good experience with them. They did a great job. We recommend moving forward with them. If we scroll down here, we are recommending just the base bid for resurfacing. We will go out on our own and bid the pavement markings. We believe that we can, if we bid it out on our own, we can get something more in line with what Fred Smith and Barnhill Contracting have for pavement markings. So,
Can you show us the target for this? Where we're going to resurface? Or
do we
tell
have
us?
the?
Oh, there we
yes,
go.
Right here. Any specific questions on this?
Glancing at it, I did not glance at it before.
And why is there a requirement for restriping, or are we restriping in areas not necessarily being repaved?
Yeah, so we're striping the areas that we have repaved, so just putting the white and yellow lines back on.
Marking road edges and crosswalks if they exist?
Yes, yeah, things like that.
What is a stop bar?
At the stop sign, the thicker bar
Oh, on the ground?
on the ground, yeah.
Okay, thank you. And will this be completed in a 12-month period, or what are we thinking?
In this fiscal year, so by the
In
end
this
of-
fiscal year, okay.
So again, we recommend going forward with the base bid with Turner Contracting.
Okay. Any other questions?
This is inside of our PAL bill funding.
Well, our total budget is 1.5 million for repaving.
Pretty good bid, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, so in the past, we had kind of cut down what we bid out each year. But this year we said, you know, we've been getting pretty good prices, let's bid out a full 5 miles, and it came within the budget. So we were excited about that.
I know that I'm probably going to make this seem simpler than it actually is, but as people talk about inflation rates and what have you, on a per mile basis, are we up, down, sideways?
Mike would be better to answer that, but do you have a feel for it, Carlton? I mean, it's,
Just curious more than anything.
yeah, I mean, surprisingly consistent the last 3 years that we've been able to get roughly 5 miles of roads paved with our budget of $1.5 million.
So we're not seeing material inflation that you can
Not
identify?
dramatic.
Right, okay. Thanks.
Okay. All righty. Anything else? We can,
I move to approve the fiscal year 2026 resurfacing project contract with Turner Asphalt for the base bid amount of $1,329,119.60 and authorize the village manager to execute change orders and add additional quantities at the original unit pricing up to $1.5 million.
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion adopted. Let's go to item B, the 2026 financial dashboard as of and for the quarter ending, recently ended up September 30th, 2025. Dana, go right ahead.
Good evening, council. I'm going to keep this brief, mostly because with only 1 quarter into the fiscal year, there's not a whole lot of exciting things to report on. Thank you, Shannon. But I do just want to highlight a few items on the dashboard and then certainly answer any questions you may have. Zoom this in. First, within the cash and investments, there is a new investment that we added during the quarter in September, the North Carolina Investment Pool. It earns a little bit more interest or yield than the North Carolina Capital Management Trust that we have been invested in for a very long time, and that we typically have 99% of our cash in that portfolio. The main differentiator is that the North Carolina Investment Pool also invests in commercial paper. Slightly higher risk means slightly higher yield, but it is still, it's an approved investment by the state that we are allowed to invest in. Many other municipalities and counties invest in that as well. So we did move about $20 million of excess cash to that investment pool, hoping to just increase our investment yield.
Is that run by the same people who run is that the State Bureau of Investment?
It's a separate entity from the North Carolina Capital Management Trust.
It's a separate pool of assets, but it's run by the same people.
It's a separate group, a separate board that oversees it.
And what are the restrictions, if any, on credit quality on the commercial paper?
It's still all very highly rated. I don't remember off the top of my head.
A1, P1?
Yes, it's still very highly rated. I can get that information for you. But mostly just pointing out that we do have that new investment added. Within the property taxes, we do collect about 75% of our levy for the year in the first quarter, and you can see our collection percentages as of September are very comparable to last year, and we are on track with the budget as well. Compared to budget, we have collected about 75% through the first quarter, compared to 76% last year. Aside from that, other revenues are on track. Our operating expenditures are on track with the budget and comparable to last year. Capital, we have spent 17% through the first quarter. Typically, at least in the last few years, that number was very low in the first quarter. The main driver of that is the Juniper Creek Sidewalks project, a Cedar Court stormwater, and some other projects where they're pretty significant investments, and so those have been occurring through the first quarter, where typically the first quarter is when things are starting to just kind of be bid out and ramping up.
Where is the library money reflected to build our library?
That is in the Library Capital Project Fund up here, and so this does not show the total budget on this dashboard, but it's over $5 million is the total budget as of now.
Right.
We have not obviously made any payments to, the contractor yet, but we do have, and we also do not have the actual purchase order issued. I think that will be coming soon as they'll be starting work. We do have the contract, though.
Will the library expansion capital project fund be used for the renovation of the current facility?
Yes,
But
that's
that
the
has not
intention.
been funded, it does not include that money just yet, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Is it too soon to be seeing any meaningful change as a result of the changes we made to our vehicle procurement process?
I would say it is probably too soon. We have received a number of vehicles to date. I think we actually just got a couple within the last couple days, a couple of the police vehicles. So we have the majority of the vehicles that we are leasing already in use. But it will take time, certainly, to see, probably several years, really, to see the overall benefit in terms of the savings in fuel and maintenance costs. The costs that you see through September 30th don't really reflect much yet. The most significant piece of the budget is the debt service, but since we didn't start receiving vehicles till October, or, I'm sorry, not October, August and September, there's very minimal payments made to date at this point.
That's what I thought. I was just curious.
When will the Powell bill funds actually start being spent down?
Yep. Now that you've approved the bid, once we have the contract in place, then they'll be encumbered. We'll have the purchase order for it, but the paving work typically doesn't start till the spring.
Yeah, we've done it like April, May in the past. I
so
mean, we're
it's-
kind of a little bit ahead of the curve, so it might be a little
Yes.
earlier this year.
I know some of that is weather dependent. The winter isn't
Contractor
always.
availability mostly.
Yeah. But those typically are not spent until maybe late into the third quarter, but primarily in the fourth quarter. So those were just the few highlights that I had. Are there any other questions?
Okay.
Of the dashboard.
Can you go down to the other current, to the right there? Mm-hmm. There, yeah, can you, that's what I wanted to say, okay.
Yeah, the harness track doesn't start really collecting its revenues for the year until the fall when the training season opens. So this is very typical of the first quarter, that the revenues are very low.
I guess the fair barn is much bigger in the spring. Is that what happens there?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Now, are we going, is there more on the financial, or we go to the performance now?
That was all I had, unless there were other questions.
Okay, then then we go to item C, unless someone has a question on the financial dashboard. The performance dashboard, is that for you, Doug?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to pull up the PowerPoint, Shannon. All right, so hopefully this looks familiar, but we're going to cover our initiative action plans, which are listed down here, improving fire department response time, updating the PDO, redevelopment of Village Place, the multimodal plan, and expand and renovate the library. As you all know, that these initiative action plans filter up to our strategic objectives, which filter up to our balanced scorecard goals, aligning everything we do to make sure that we're actually accomplishing what we intend to and promoting our vision and mission. I just cover all those. So the first one.
Jack, look at that. Oh, yeah.
I was surprised that you knew that I had this in the presentation when you said we threw Jack's picture all over it. But yes, we did, and we can now check this one off the list. We will, again, we talked about it earlier, but we'll work on the engineering standards and specifications manual in beginning in the first quarter of next year, calendar year, and that'll move us forward on that project. Redevelopment of Village Place, kept you aware of what we've done in the first quarter of fiscal year 26. We put out our request for statements of interest from different developers. We got some information and interest from some of the local developers, and we're working on coordinating with them to see if we can make a compatible project that works for both the people interested and for the village as well. And hopefully someday we'll have something that looks like this in that area. The Given Memorial Library, as you know, we approved the contract with our contractor, M Squared. We had our pre-construction meeting last week. We received the final plans today, so our inspections department is going to be working on issuing them a building permit. I would expect that we might see ground clearing sometime in the month of December.
Good. Will be a good day for Pinehurst. Go ahead.
Improve fire rescue response time. We talked about early in the spring applying for the SAFER grant, which we did in the first quarter and heard back in October that we were awarded. We have actually since then made contingent offers to candidates that will be graduating from the academy in December. So in January, we'll have 6 new firefighters on board that we can start our quick response vehicle and improve our rescue response times. We are working on implementing our multimodal transportation plan. As you know, we are nearly complete with the number 6 sidewalk project. We are also working with the SMPO to develop a greenway on Airport Road in connection with the village or the town of Southern Pines. So that will be engineered shortly, and we'll work with DOT to get that built. We also adopted a multimodal transportation plan in July to complete that and give us direction on what we are going to do, not only fiscal year 26, but for the next 5 fiscal years. And short-term rental monitoring and compliance is our last IAP. We have done a good job using the software to monitor any new rentals that have opened on the market, and we've been contacting them. We also talked recently about different ways that we can proactively address behavior of visitors that are staying at short-term rentals, and honestly, any behaviors in the village. And we'll be bringing that forward to the council to have some recommendations and help improve that and hopefully make our neighborhoods compatible for both visitors and long-term residents. We also jump into our KPIs at these quarterly updates. Here is the report for the first quarter. Since we only have one quarter, it's a little bit hard to gauge how well some of these are doing. I looked at some of the previous quarters. So a couple that I wanted to highlight, this collisions of per 1,000 residents is slightly higher. It was like 10 in the last quarter, so we hope to have that down in the more 7 to 8 range, but not too bad. Managed stormwater systems, percent of MyVOP stormwater requests addressed on time is lower than normal. This is typically up in the 90s, but we also had lots of rain, and Chantal was in the first quarter, so that is what brought those numbers down a little bit. This solid waste collection is slightly above last year, but that's still a very, very good number that we get very few complaints on missed pickups. It also helps that we can now prove whether or not we missed the actual pickup. And then the only other thing that yellow here is percent of recreation participants satisfied with our programs. This ranges in the past from 94 to 97 in the quarters past, so this is in the range of where we usually are, but we will keep an eye on that. And then on the internal perspectives, we do a great job keeping MyVOP requests up to date. We have 2% turnover this past quarter. The fourth quarter of fiscal year 25 was about 4%. And as as Dana just mentioned, we are doing very well on all of our financial goals and established targets. So those are all in the green.
Could you go back a page on the library services? I was looking at the FY25 year summary, and on books checked out in particular, and if we're green, we're meeting our target. Is that what that says?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. The reason I ask is that in FY19, we had 45,000 books checked out. It dropped to a low of 20,000 at COVID time, and now it is, the last 3 years, it's been at 31,000. So what is our target or our goal for the first quarter or for quarters? Is it, I don't know if they're all the same, is it 8,000, is it, or I'm trying to understand
so
the data on this, and the same thing with the books checked out item, because you have this in the report, is that, well, that was books checked out, and then there was e-books checked out, which are at a almost all-time high, the e-books part. They dropped off by about 100 from 2024 to 2025, but, so that's a combination.
So for what we present to the council on a quarterly basis, we have combined books and e-books checked out.
Right.
So I don't have data past fourth quarter of 2025, but in that quarter we had 14,326 checkouts. In this quarter we're up to 15,000.
Oh, in the fourth quarter you had that?
Yeah.
Of 2025. I was looking at the year data.
Yeah. So overall, in a year, we'll have more than 60,000 items checked out from the library.
Okay, well, that would be higher than the last 4 years of combined books and e-books checked out.
Yeah.
Because last year the year total was 56 or 57,000. The year before it was 55,000. The year before that it was 54,000. So, okay, well, it's a good sign, but we'll just keep watching it.
And since you brought it up, visitors for comparing quarter 4 of 25 to quarter 1 of 26 went from about 8,300 to about 8,600.
I don't see that in here. Didn't look at that. I'll have to look at it closer. But, okay, thank you. Let me just jump around, because I actually looked through and read the information on our FY 2025, the statistical section, which I always find very interesting. I was curious that under public safety, and Carlton, you may be able to shed light here, that in 2024, we had 203 public, fire, and life safety classes. In 2025, it was down to 97. Did something happen between that year, from 24 to 25?
Carlton was no longer the fire chief.
I
as well.
know. I'm not trying to hold anyone accountable. I'm trying to understand what makes the numbers. I'm just into the numbers. I mean, we get great reports and all that, but that was a glaring number that dropped from 203 on public fire and life safety classes and went down to 97 in 2025.
We'll look into that.
Okay.
See what we can dig up.
Do you have more KPIs you're going
No,
to go?
no, this is all our,
You didn't have anything on things that are getting worse or places where we're underperforming?
so just anything with the yellow would be,
I took the yellow.
But these are not all the KPIs. There used to be 187 of them. There
Yep.
hopefully
We-
fewer
no,
now.
yeah, so we,
And I don't want to see all 187.
No, please.
so last year we condensed the KPIs that we showed to council to a list. So we have 3 or 4 for each strategic objective.
Good.
And then here, we only put on ones that have been updated quarterly. A lot of ours are annual survey ones, so we didn't put those on here because we
Gotcha.
don't have that result. But this is the KPIs that council is presented each quarter going forward.
One other statistic which I was impressed with was that the Fair Barn, over the 10-year look on the data, last year, 2025, was an all-time high in the number of events held at the Fair Barn, at 164. So something's working out there real well. I mean, we hear about it's doing well. We know we've had a proposal in to see about enhancing the Fair Barn to make it even more desirable. But obviously, it's a good indication. You know, I was hoping, Dana, you might know the answer to this question. Under the the principal employers in the statistic, it checked the current year, which is 2025, versus 2016. And there was a huge, significant increase, I don't want to over-exaggerate, but of 1,000 employees by First Health of Carolina. Does that represent their whole company, or does that represent working here in the village? Do you know how that's determined?
What we request from them is just employees that work at their locations within Pinehurst.
Okay, well, that's quite significant.
And I mean, even just in the last few years, there's been quite a bit of expansion, and I imagine over the last 10 years, even more so. Any additional information we would need to request from them.
Okay, no, that's impressive. I don't, thank you very much. That's all I had to ask.
Doug, you cite here one of the number of collisions per 1,000 residents. Before you became village manager, there were some questions about that related to the traffic circle, and we actually built a small app so that because the raw data starts with us. It's our police reports that end up getting aggregated up by the state. And one of the things that I had, that was done in like a day and a half. I was surprised. I think Jeff Sanborn was surprised at the time, who was village manager. And it was pretty useful, but it didn't have the ability to look at a beginning and an ending date. I don't think that's a big lift. And I think apropos of what we're going to be looking at, the emphasis on safety that the DOT mentioned with respect to the current plan, I would love to see that,
Yeah.
assuming it is not a heavy lift.
yeah. Would you mind sending me the email with that, or if you think you can find it?
Absolutely.
That would help a lot.
All right. Any other discussion on the performance dashboard?
No.
Okay, that was very helpful, informative. Thank you very much. Look forward to it every quarter. Item 14 is other businesses. Does anybody want to take up anything or bring anything to our attention There's only one other council meeting before the new year. That's the December 9th one.
I do.
Go ahead, Dr. Morgan.
But one of the things I've brought up a few times in other business was the horse track. And had another meeting this morning with some of our constituents who are very passionate about the horse track. Everybody's got their hot button. And we've talked before about a committee to assist with this. I really think that this needs to be taken up, and I talked to Carlton about this a little earlier on. I've certainly talked to Doug about this, but something to the effect of Friends of the Horse Track.
Yeah, I've mentioned that before, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've mentioned it. I guess we both have. I think it's time to actually make something happen, and I'd like to move forward with that because you've got folks that are looking at the upkeep of the horse track and not necessarily thinking it's at par, what it needs to be, and they're actually willing to raise money, they're willing to contribute and things like that, and to be able to harness that, pun fully intended, I think it would benefit the village. You've got people that are passionate about it, you know, and they can make a difference. It's much like the beautification committee. We have lots of other committees that are advancing this village, and I'd like to see that happen with something to the effect of Friends of the Horse Track to be able to advance that and help the maintenance and things like that, and to empower some of these people working with the village.
I agree. I think what we've been searching for, there's a couple of items that fall into that category. There's the Friends of the Harness Track, there's probably the Friends of the Library, and the Friends of the Archives. I think we need to nail down sort of a little governance structure so we can put something in place that can function. And I did not think of what you're suggesting, but it's certainly welcome if people want to raise money to do particular projects. I think that would be welcome as long as we figure out how we do that, you know, within the rules of the state of North Carolina. So I'm for that. I was hoping we would address the three of these at one time in the new year. That was my hope. But is any other thoughts? Because I don't know anyone who disagrees with Dr. Morgan on that.
I would just be curious, given all the free time that you will have not preparing for council meetings, whether you wanted to chair such a committee were to be convened.
Well, actually, John, you're putting me on the spot, but yes, the idea of chairing it, maybe not, but certainly being part of it, being a founding member of it, to ensure it's going in the right direction, we can certainly discuss that.
Perfect.
But I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is here.
Perfect.
And help out.
Okay.
I would just mention that having, as a result of having moved homes, I now spend more time going farther out on Linden Road than I used to, and was surprised to see two very well-appointed dressage farms almost immediately in our ETJ off the north side of Linden, west side of Linden Road. I know they exist in Southern Pines as well. I know we do some events at the horse track now, but there's more of that community here than I thought.
Yes.
I thought it was a different type of riding community, and that having people look at this is a way to find more demand. We know we have supply available.
Doug, let's be sure we put it on one of our discussions, retreat, et cetera, so that we can move it along with and let's check with village attorney as to advice. He gave us some preliminary advice, but see if we need some more as to how we get to pull the trigger on this.
Yeah, Friends of Libraries and things like that are pretty standard, so it shouldn't be too difficult to have a Friends of the Library and Friends of the Harness Track.
I appreciate the action on this. I sincerely do, and I know there's lots of residents that also appreciate that. And Kevin's not here anymore, but I know Jeremy's there. I hope you all are able to carry this forward and make it happen. Also, the last thing we saw from Dana was the expenditures coming out of the budget for taxpayers on the horse track is about $800,000. So the revenues we had was about 234,000, if I remember correctly, something about like that.
200 something.
So, not that I remember all the numbers on your chart, but there's a few of them I look at and get to memory, but that's an issue.
Well, thank you for reminding us, and you'll soon be a member. Okay. Okay. Other business from anyone
Just
else?
a question for Doug. We appear to be closing in on the completion of the Magnolia Road and the Chingabin intersection, and there are two stop signs that appear to be two stop signs appear to be required. I was surprised that they've completed and done a very nice job of the walkway and so forth in front of the Magnolia Inn. They're going to have to do something there to put a stop sign there.
Yeah,
And
so-
I was surprised that they did all the completed work before they're going to have to tear something up. What is the status of those two stop signs, number one? And number two, a resident mentioned to me the stop sign which exists outside the Village Wine Shop on that opposite corner has what I will call a corrugated gray plastic.
Yeah, it's temporary, yeah.
That is temporary.
Yeah.
Someone told them it was permanent, and I hope that was not the case.
Must-
It may feel like it's been permanent, but it's been temporary.
That's good.
Temporary. So yes, they are working in front of the VGA there, they're developing another one of those kind of bulb outs with the curbing. When that's complete, all 4 stop signs will be put in place. We're going to add our signs that, will notify people that, so especially coming from the direction of the resort and the Carolina, people will have noticed that there's a stop sign because they're not used to it.
Right. Okay, thank you. Other items someone wants to raise? You have anything else, John?
I apologize for this. I found in my notes what I thought would be a minor amendment to the PDO that we've now adopted.
Really?
It is, I'll describe it quickly.
Okay.
In the section that describes when existing structures are destroyed, in one sentence it says if they're destroyed to the extent of 50% of replacement cost, and literally 2 sentences later it says 50% of assessed value. Those are two completely different numbers. I couldn't understand why we would use a different standard. I read it 3 or 4 times. I think we ought to settle on one standard. I think it's a very easy fix if we decide to make it.
Yeah, well,
I'm
let's-
happy to delegate to staff to come up with a
Let's
recommendation.
add that to the list of,
Of things that we.
yeah, so we'll
That's
accumulate a
the
few.
number one on the list of things to change on the PDO.
Yeah,
so.
I'll be happy to email that to you and Alex as well.
Well, if we're going to be doing a PRD, there'll be a bunch of text amendments, so that could be included.
It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, so that's fine procedurally. I'd be fine
Anything
with
you
that.
find that needs attention, I think can be included in one big.
Yeah, I think I would prefer us not nickel and dime the process and,
Good.
and take a good look at it in about 30 or 60 days and see what we have to do.
Didn't
Okay.
have the heart to bring that up in the discussion there, so.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? All right, well, we are approaching that time where we, where we sort of like to take a break.
I move to adjourn the regular meeting.
Second.
All right, motion adopted, I assume, by everybody? Yes.
Aye.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break. How's that sound? All right. Progress.